The sports media has finally made their picks for this upcoming Super Bowl, and it looks like the Kansas City Chiefs are the favorites for pretty much every single popular sports news broadcaster, journalist, you name it, to win this Super Bowl on Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, there are a couple onesies and twosies that are choosing the 49ers, but other than that, from what I've noticed, when they've made their picks, it's pretty much Kansas City across the board. So I'm going to go ahead and dig into that first. And I got my little notepad here to kind of help me out. So the media, onesies and twosies for the Niners, all Kansas City. So, you know how it goes. They say you can't pick against Mahomes. Now, any ordinary football fan pretty much knows that. We've all heard that. Mahomes, they want to pretty much put him in the GOAT conversation already, or only at 28 years old, in his fourth Super Bowl appearance, I believe it is. Now, as far as them having these conversations, can't bet against Mahomes, I think one of the big reasons why that they are abandoning ship on the 49ers, for some of them who may at one point were siding with them, it's because a lot of them chose them to lose when they faced the Bills and when they faced the Ravens. Now, I don't think anyone was choosing Kansas City to lose against Miami in the wild card round. But when it was Bills against Kansas City, a lot of them did pick Bills. And then when it was the Ravens' turn, it's like they all went Ravens. So now it's like, okay, they're traumatized. They're like, this is why you can't bet against Mahomes. You do it, and then you look dumb on TV or whatever. So I kind of understand why the Kansas City are such heavy favorites in the news, and the sports media news, because so many of them went against them during the playoffs. Now, with that said, you also consider the fact that the 49ers weren't looking like they were playing their greatest ball during the playoffs, which I agree. I don't think they were totally playing their best ball. But I think the sports media is failing to notice a couple things, and that's something I'm going to also dig into pretty soon. So the Kansas City Chiefs are technically underdogs by like 1.5 or 2 points on the spread for Vegas, which a lot of them are surprised about that. But as far as what Vegas has going on there, because, naturally, I guess you would think Kansas City are the favorites because, well, lo and behold, they have Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league as of right now. So you have a lot of people who are definitely taking the bet on that, thinking they're going to win. So it makes you wonder what Vegas probably has cooking. I don't know. But now switching over to the 49ers. So a lot of the talk in the sports media, especially today, as they've been having their closing remarks this Friday, because a lot of them won't be doing broadcasting for the rest of the weekend until Monday. A lot of the reason why they go for Kansas City Chiefs is, again, because of the performances that the Niners were having as of recent during the playoffs. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and dig into and pretty much kind of almost prove them wrong as to why I think they're kind of analyzing those two matches from an angle that might get them in trouble if the 49ers actually win the Super Bowl. So let me go ahead and get into that. The Green Bay Packers, leading up to that match against the 49ers, after what they did against the Cowboys, the media was all on Jordan Love. They were all on board with Green Bay, so much that they were thinking, hey, I think they can take this momentum and beat the Niners. Yes, as a Niner fan, I was worried. I was at that game, and I had a feeling like, man, I believe Niners are going to win, but this game, in some rain, and we all know how the Niners are with the rain, apparently. Brock Purdy has struggles in the rain, and I knew we would win, and I had faith all along, but I just knew Green Bay was playing very well based off of what I seen against what they did against the Cowboys, and and throughout the month of December. So Green Bay was actually a really good team, and I do believe if Green Bay had beaten the 49ers as well, there's a good chance they could have beaten the Lions and been in the Super Bowl right now. So I think the media fails to realize that Green Bay was a team that was red hot, that they were hyping at one point. Moving on, the 49ers then played the Lions. The Lions, same thing. The Lions were a really good team. They beat the Bucks. I know the Bucks weren't like, all that, but the Lions were no joke this season with, St. Brown and Jared Goff, what he's been doing, and their running backs. Like, they had every right to be in this Super Bowl instead of the 49ers if they were able to close out that game against my team. And once again, the media looks at that and they're like, well, the 49ers had their struggle against the Lions and the Green Bay Packers. It's like, well, hold on. You guys were all on Green Bay at one point. You guys were all on the Lions at one point. And now that the Niners took care of business against both of those teams, they want to go back and be like, well, Kansas City did pretty good in the playoffs, but the Niners didn't. Hold on. You can make the argument that the 49ers probably faced a tougher competition up to that point in the playoffs, okay? So whatever happened with the Ravens in Kansas City, that's not the Ravens team that went up against the 49ers. The Ravens, if you look at that game and you go back and watch it, Ravens went away from the run. Ravens went away from Lamar Jackson using his feet. They only lost by a score. For whatever reason why Harbaugh decided to deviate from what had them winning in the first place is beyond me. So I don't think that that's the same Ravens team that we saw, beat up on my Niners back on Christmas night. Going back to the NFC, the Lions and the Green Bay Packers, I would say, were probably a harder competition. So if you look at that and you analyze that game, let's say the Niners were rusty against Green Bay. Well, the Niners were still good enough to get the job done in the rain, come back. No one said they could against the Green Bay team that had pretty much everything going for them to make it to the big game. Then fast forward to the Lions. Niners were down by 17 at half. Lions, I'm sure, were probably some of the stiffest competition you could have faced at that point in the playoffs, okay? You can argue they were a harder competition against the Bills. When you think of Bills, you think of you think of Josh Allen, him putting on that Superman cape and doing everything on his own. The Lions were a legitimate, complete team. And the Niners came back at half and got it done. So even if you think the Niners weren't their best and they had their defensive issues against the run in that game, but to still come back and win, I think the news media is failing, the sports media is failing to take that Niner struggles, momentum, and victories to the Super Bowl and think, hey, you know what? I saw a Niners team beat a really good Green Bay team. Hey, you know what? I seen a Niners team beat a really good Lions team. Not only did they beat them, but they were behind and they dug deep and came back. And you would think maybe some of them would make that point and be like, I think the Chiefs are in trouble because the Niners may have in fact have faced maybe a harder competition up to that point in the playoffs compared to Kansas City having to play the Dolphins. And I think the Dolphins are a good team, but I just don't think they were like playoff ready. I think that cold just wasn't it for them. And yeah, the Bills are good and all. And the Ravens, I just don't think that was the same Ravens team. I think if the Ravens stuck to what they've done all year, they probably could have beat the Chiefs, honestly. So I think they're failing to take those things into consideration. And they're really undermining this 49ers team, thinking because that they almost lost those two games, they think that they're not going to beat Kansas City, that they aren't good enough to beat Kansas City, when it might actually quite be the opposite. So moving on to the next thing. If we look back at the regular season, and I know week 1 was a long time ago, but who did the Kansas City Chiefs lose to back in week 1? The Lions. Who did the Niners beat? The Lions. If you go back to early December, this is late in the season, this is where Kansas City's still fighting to have a good seeding position. I think maybe they were still possibly trying to get, well, actually they weren't trying to get the 1 seed, but they're fighting for good seeding, right? Who do they lose late in the season in December? Green Bay. They lost against the Green Bay Packers 27-19. Now, I'm not saying that's a blowout, but that was not like a 1-score, 3-score game. Like, I mean, a 1-point or a 3-point game. Who did the Niners beat? Like I just said, the Green Bay Packers, just maybe about a month after that. So I think that's something they're not taking into consideration. The Kansas City Chiefs lost to the 2 teams that the 49ers beat in the playoffs. Now, I know the Lions week 1 was a long time ago, so things change, blah, blah, blah. But that was still a really good Lions team coming out the gate. And Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, right? You can't bet against him. So, I mean, I think the Lions were obviously the better team, right? And you go back and you look at Green Bay. Green Bay was being red hot, and that red hot team took that momentum over to Santa Clara against the Niners. Kansas City couldn't get the best of them, but the Niners did. So I'm just saying, I don't think they're taking these things all into consideration. Anyways, now on to the next. The Kansas City Chiefs have, Patrick Mahomes in particular, I want to say 2 out of his last 3 Super Bowl appearances, now this Sunday one being his 4th, 2 out of 3 of them weren't exactly his greatest performances. Now, in all respect, his most recent one, he did have a pretty good game. Let me just kind of read some of these stats. When Mahomes played in his first Super Bowl against the 49ers, he threw for 2 interceptions and was sacked 4 times that game. And I think he only threw 1 touchdown. I didn't write down the touchdowns. I just kind of wrote down the bad stuff. But he only threw for like 1 touchdown, maybe 2. So, sacked 4 times, threw 2 interceptions. Not that great of a game if you throw the ball over twice in a Super Bowl. Then, he played against the Bucs. He actually threw for no touchdowns that game. We know they only scored like 9 points that game. He threw for 2 touchdowns in that game as well, and he was sacked 3 times. Now, his most recent game, he actually did throw for 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and was sacked 0 times. But in that game in particular, you can tell Andy Reid probably had a game plan to prevent his interceptions. And what was that exactly? Mahomes actually threw for, nearly half of the attempts that he did compared to the Bucs and the last time they played the 49ers in the Super Bowl. He only threw for about, I think it was 27 attempts, and I think he completed, I think it was 19 to 21. So what did Andy Reid do there against the Eagles? They obviously must have ran the ball a lot more than they threw it. But yes, credit to Mahomes. The few times that he threw it, he made it count. His first touchdown was a good touchdown. The last 2, a touchdown is a touchdown at the end of the day. The last 2, he's down at the end zone. They're just those, cut sweeps off to the side, chucks it to one of the guys. It's kind of like a little trick play, and they just go off to the side. So what I'm trying to say is they're probably going to try to replicate the same thing. And with Pacheco playing as well as he's been playing, we might actually see Mahomes maybe not throw as much as well again. But I think the 49ers defense, if they step it up, even if Mahomes doesn't throw it that often, if they can get a pick, I think that can really crush them, because then it's like, okay, well, we're already not throwing that much, but I already threw a pick, so maybe that could kind of get in Mahomes' head a little bit. Now, I know Mahomes is Mahomes, so I'm not going to bet on him getting shook over an interception. But I'm just saying, and for 0 sacks against the last game, I would not be surprised if Mahomes gets sacked at least 2 to 3 times in this game. And that's where I think Bosa kicks in. So moving on to the players again a little bit. I know I talked about this in the last video, so I won't spend too much time on it. Bosa, I've seen interviews. He seems very content. You can't tell that he's upset. But he actually recently said, I can't remember if it was yesterday or the day before when they're talking to the media, but he's actually really looking forward to getting another crack at the Kansas City Chiefs in the Super Bowl. So Bosa, in his mind, he's like, I wouldn't rather have it any other way. I'm so happy we get to take a chance against this team that beat us last time, and now we can go out there and beat them instead. So I think Bosa, he knows this is do or die, and you can just see it. This guy wants to win more than anything because of just some of the comments that he's made. He's even, called out the holding at their D-line that their O-line does on our Niners D-line. So I think Nick Bosa is ready to face that adversity, and I think we're really going to see a Bosa that basically what the 49ers paid for. Call me crazy. This is what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping Bosa can get 3 sacks. Is that too much? At least 2, but I think 3. And I think Chase Young on the other end, if I were Chase Young, I said this last time, I'd be pretty mad. People talking about me saying that I don't give it effort, I'd be mad and I'd show them, okay, you want to see what effort looks like? I'm gonna show you. So I think Chase Young, look out for Chase Young. And Hardgrave, we talked about him. He's back in the Super Bowl, so I don't think he wants to lose twice in the Super Bowl. So I think he's gonna definitely find his way to Mahomes. I'm just saying, like, Mahomes is Mahomes, but if our D-line, if our Nick Bosa's, our Chase Youngs and Hardgraves can find their, or Armstead, if they can find their way to Mahomes and just throw him off his game, it can only do us good. And as far as Mahomes, like, trying to, like, use his feet, I mean, as a Niner, you're already kind of winning because you're throwing him off. He's going to miss some reads or something like that. So regardless of the fact, Niners need to lock up Travis Kelce, right? Mahomes has had problems with some of his other receivers. You lock up Travis Kelce, I mean, fuck it. Like, take the gamble. Like, if he wants to go throw it to someone else, I'm pretty sure our corners can maybe handle that. But whatever you do, lock that man, Travis Kelce, up. That's his security blanket. That's his go-to on third down. That's his go-to when he needs a lifeline. Take that lifeline away. Strip it away from him time and time again. Like, figure it out. Please, find it. And I think defense will have a great night if they do that. Easier said than done, I know. Going back to the Chiefs and their playoff run, I don't know what it is, but they kind of paint this picture like they did phenomenal. Like, when they played the Bills, they only won by 3 points, And then when they beat the Ravens, they won 17-10, but that was just a one-score game, So I'm not saying they played bad. I mean, they had good games, but I just feel like they're upping the Kansas City Chiefs as if they just bulldozed everyone in the playoffs. And that's not how it really played out. Like, the games were still tight at certain points, So it really kind of is the 49ers against the world right now. But from what I understand, I think it's projected to be 60 or 70, or is it 80? I don't know, but it's supposed to be more Niner fans than Kansas City fans. I mean, Las Vegas is closer to California. I just think the 49ers fan base is a big fan base, and I think there's a lot of Niner fans that are just willing to pay the price to go see this game in person. And shifting over to Brock Purdy, it seems like the news media is finally giving him his props and all. But you know what they're doing. They're like, well, I mean, are you really going to expect Brock Purdy to beat Mahomes? Mahomes has to go against the Niners defense, and Brock Purdy has to go against Kansas City's defense. So, yeah, you could say, well, who would you pick if it turns into a shootout? Look, man, Brock Purdy is Brock Purdy. And we already saw what he can do under pressure when we need the points. What more do you need to see for this particular season? This is now. And what I see now was the most efficient quarterback in the league. What I see now is a quarterback with the quarterback that's done the best under pressure. What I've seen now is a quarterback that's done the best against the blitz. What I've seen now is a quarterback that is the best against, with a terrible, well, I want to say terrible, with a not so great O-line. I've seen a quarterback that has thrown for the most air yards. I've seen a quarterback that has the most throws into tight windows. And I've seen a quarterback that has made the biggest comebacks you can make, not just in a regular season game, but in a game where it's you lose, you go home. So what I've seen for Brock Purdy this season is enough for me to have nothing but confidence in him. And I know he's going to go out there with a clear head and just him and God in his mind other than what's ahead of him. And he's going to take it one play at a time that way. I mean, they kind of paint this picture how's Brock Purdy going to react? I know Brock Purdy's going to be composed. What about Mahomes? I mean, you guys, they put Mahomes on such a high pedestal. He's human too. You don't think that guy probably feels some pressure? Everyone's going for Mahomes. I'm sure he's caught wind of that. You don't think maybe he feels a little bit of that? He's, this whole talk about him catching up to Brady, I don't think the media realizes it, but if Mahomes is catching any of this, they're really just putting a lot of pressure on him as well. So take that as you will. So, and I feel like they're putting none of the pressure on the Niners right now because so far it looks like no one expects the Niners to win. So if the Niners are getting any wind of the media, which I'm sure some of them have, and I think some of them have, and I'm sure some of them have seen, then, I mean, they're like, hey, well, no one even expects us to win this game other than our own fan base. So, you know, give the Chiefs all the pressure. Screw it. Moving on to the refs. The refs, the head lead ref or whatever, his name's like Bill Vacchino or something. Apparently, it's the same like ref that refed the last time the Niners and the Kansas City Chiefs played in the Super Bowl. And we all know those famous no-hold calls on Bosa. Trust me, it kind of worries me. I'm like, hey, why are we getting that guy again? You know, and granted, all the other refs in there, I don't think any of them are the same necessarily, but as like this guy who's like the head ref or whatever for this game, he was part of that. And they never really called any holds on Bosa, especially that famous throw that Patrick Mahomes did to Tyreek Hill on that 3rd and 15, and Mahomes was like gunning it for Patrick Mahomes, and it was like the most blatant hold that you'll ever see on Nick Bosa, and it just, but no flag, right? So what I'm hoping is that, hey, maybe this is, I don't know why it's not a different ref, but hey, okay, it's him again. Maybe this is an opportunity for him to fix his wrongs, right? If there really isn't no like such thing as rigging these games, which I hope to God not, because I mean, come on, bro. Like, people work hard. People put a lot of like love and effort and emotion into their teams. Like, we don't need it to be ruined because it's rigged or something. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm just hoping that this is an opportunity for him, because they go back, these refs go back and look at what they did wrong. They do, and they get graded and everything. And I'm sure he's looking at that. And just keep it even. If the Niners do that against Kansas City, okay, call it. But we just expect the same in return. Then I think this is a good opportunity for him to notify, be like, hey, this is what happened last game. Us as refs, we need to do better about this. And if Kansas City does the same thing, or even if the Niners do that to them, we need to make sure we make those calls, right? And then even with the one with Kittle with the pass interference, like how he like pushed off the cornerback. Like, he didn't even really push him off. He just kind of like casually extended his arm, which we see players do all the time. Like, it's stuff like that that makes you scratch your head. Like, okay, why did you call that? You make it look like something fishy's going on here. So I think these are opportunities for the refs to fix what went wrong in the last game and just let these guys play and just call what seems blatantly obvious. If it's not worth calling, don't call it, right? I think the problem with these refs are, I don't want to say so much it's that the games are rigged, okay? I don't want to lose my credibility making these YouTube videos. But what I will say is, I think what happens is the refs understand the magnitude of these games, and I think in result, it causes them to over officiate, right? Because they feel like, hey, this is the biggest game. Anything we see, we have to call it. Like, if you know that's wrong, call it, right? And I think the refs fail to realize that it starts to not look like a normal, like, week 6, week 8, week 5 game, right? Where, like, things kind of, like, just let itself play out and just refs will call something unless it's, like, blatantly obvious. So I think the refs need to just do a self-check and be like, look, man, like, we can't just throw flags because of, like, the tiniest things. Like, that's not how it works. Like, it needs to be obvious. It needs to be, like, a legitimate call. Not like, oh, his, like, hand kind of, like, brushed on him, so, you know, I gotta, like, throw the flag, you know. So I think the problem is just over officiating, and I think they psych themselves out. So whenever they see something, and even though it wasn't anything serious, then their mind psychologically, it's like, okay, I need to call that. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So let's just hope the refs are calm, just treat it like a normal game, and only call things unless it really needs to be called and it's obvious. And other than that, let the guys play. So unless it's holding, call those damn holds. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it with this. All season long, what did we hear throughout the media? When the Niners are fully healthy, what do they say? You guys know. You guys know. What do they say? The Niners are the best team in football. When the Niners are fully healthy and they have all their pieces, they are an unbeatable force. I remember all season hearing that. And I'm like, yeah, it's true. When they're all together, they're unbeatable. Guess what? Yes, we lost to Funga a long time ago, but the Niners have since then adapted. That we really only did lose one major player. One superstar, Hufanga. We are blessed. That is another reason why I think the 49ers need to finish the job on Sunday. Because next season, we don't know how injuries will play out. Knock on wood, we don't know. But right now, we have everybody. Everyone as healthy as they can possibly be. So if the 49ers are fully healthy, then whatever happened to them being the best team in football that are unbeatable? You see what the media does? Even the media psychs themselves out. They think, hey, Mahomes, he's the almighty. And he's the best quarterback in the league, no doubt. But let's not forget who the 49ers are on the opposite side of that field. Let's not forget what they've done to other good teams. Okay? Kansas City has their problems. Okay? The 49ers have done their homework. They've done their practice. And with all this alarm, bullcrap, shitty fields, you're only giving those guys that wear the red and gold more fuel to the fire. And Christian McCaffrey said it himself. They're probably pissed. Those fire alarm incidents, I think they genuinely think like someone is trying to sabotage us. Someone's trying to screw up our rest. And that would anger you. These guys are some of the most competitive athletes in the planet. Someone messes with you because they're trying to get you to lose in any way they can. You'd be like, no, screw that. I'm going to get them. So I think the Niners have a lot more going for them. I think it's time. I think Kyle's going to throw the kitchen sink at it. I think Purdy is going to have a great game. And that's going to lead up to my closing remarks. I believe, and call me crazy if you want. Here it goes. 49ers will win 38-24 against the Kansas City Chiefs. This 49ers team, and I'm going to speak like a fan right now, so if you hate the 49ers, you might as well leave. The 49ers have so much offensive power, and they are going to show why they have so much star power. They are going to show everyone how good Kittle is. They're going to show everyone how good Debo is. They're going to show everyone how good Christian McCaffrey is. They're going to show everyone how good Brandon Ayuk is. They're going to show everyone even how good Juwan Jennings is. They're going to show everyone how good Trent Williams is on that offense. And they're going to show how good and efficient Brock Purdy is, even when the lights are at their brightest. And Kyle Shanahan, the offensive genius, he is going to bring the best out of his players. He's going to unleash the greatest plays you'll see in a Super Bowl game as of recent, and they're going to get the job done. Kansas City Chiefs, they'll score 24 points. Oh, and Brock Purdy will throw 0 interceptions. No interceptions. Brock Purdy will have a clean game. Patrick Mahomes will have 1 interception. Patrick Mahomes will probably throw for 2 touchdowns. Pacheco might have the rest. I think Debo wants a touchdown. Christian McCaffrey sure as heck wants a touchdown. Ayuk wants a touchdown. And Kyle's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to give you guys a touchdown. Show me how bad you want that touchdown. And I think that is why this Kansas City's defense, as good as they've been, I don't think they're really expecting this offense to do what they're about to do. Because I finally believe that the Niners are due for a big game, 30-plus points, and they want that trophy more than Kansas City does. 49ers, 38-24. Brock Purdy will throw, I will say, for 3 touchdowns. I would hope he gets 4. Brock Purdy will get 3 touchdowns, 7, 14, 21. Christian McCaffrey will have 2 touchdowns. The people, I think Debo will get a touchdown, and I think Ayuk will get a touchdown, and I think maybe even Kittle will get a touchdown. I'm just saying, man, there's too many stars that will need and want a touchdown. So I'll leave it at that, guys. Go 49ers. Maybe I'll make another video before the big game, but that's how I stand. San Francisco 49ers, 38. Kansas City Chiefs, 24. The San Francisco 49ers will lift their 6th Super Bowl trophy. And the media is going to lose their crap. And I think a lot of them are going to want to call in Monday because of how much they doubted this 49ers team. But the 49ers team is, I think they're going to remind them who the 49ers are. And I think we got ourselves a great team who's ready to go out and show out. I'll see you in the next one. Let me know what your score predictions are. Go ahead and call me crazy. I don't care. San Francisco 38, Kansas City 24. Peace.